They say blood is thicker than water. That family will always be there for you. That no matter how hard life gets, the people who share your name, your roof, your table, they'll have your back. But I learned the hard way that sometimes the ones you sacrifice everything for are the first ones to throw you to the wolves. It started on a Tuesday. A quiet, uneventful Tuesday. I was sitting at the kitchen table, the same table I'd spent the last 15 years managing bills, packing lunches, writing Christmas cards, and staying up late to help with school projects. My husband, Eric, had just left for a business trip. My kids were at school. I finally had a moment to breathe, and that's when I saw the envelope. A manila folder, thick with papers, slid partway under a stack of old mail. My name was on it. Handwritten. I almost didn't open it. Almost left it alone. But something in my gut told me this wasn't just another bill or medical statement. Inside was everything. The deed transfer. The new life insurance policy. A separate bank account with his name and my signature, forged. I remember how my heart pounded in my chest as I flipped through each page. My hands trembled. My mouth went dry. This wasn't carelessness. This was premeditated. And he wasn't working late, or traveling for business. He was leaving, starting a new life, without me. But the worst part wasn't the betrayal of a husband. It was that he wasn't alone in this. That folder included something else. Messages, emails. My own sister, Amanda, had been helping him. She'd helped him hire a lawyer, had even helped him move things out of our house while I was at work. I read every word of those emails, every sarcastic, sneering comment about me, about how she'll never see it coming. They were right. I didn't. For 15 years, I worked overtime, picked up side gigs, went without vacations, hobbies, or even basic self-care just to keep our home stable. I paid off Eric's credit card debt, helped Amanda through her divorce, babysat her kids when she was too hungover to parent. I took care of everyone and asked for nothing in return. But the moment I became inconvenient, they plotted my erasure like it was business strategy. I sat there for hours, the light outside fading, the chill creeping in through the windows. I didn't cry. Not at first. I just felt hollow. Like my whole identity had been stolen in, broad daylight. And yet, beneath that numbness, something else began to stir. Not sorrow. Not fear. Rage. Not the wild, irrational kind. No. This was cold, controlled, focused. They thought I was weak, that I'd roll over and let them devour the life I built, that I'd let them take everything and walk away with clean hands. They were wrong. This story isn't about heartbreak. It's about revelation. About betrayal, yes, but more importantly, about what comes after betrayal. Because when someone shows you who they really are, you have two choices. Look away and keep playing your role, or rewrite the script. I gave up everything for my family until I realized they wouldn't do the same for me. But now I'm taking it all back. And I'm going to make damn sure they feel every bit of what they tried to do to me. The next few days passed in a haze. Me, walking through. My own life like a ghost. Eric called once, pretending everything was fine. Said the trip was going well. I played along. My voice was calm, my tone even. I knew better than to tip my hand too early. But inside, my mind was racing. The documents proved he was moving. Assets. The insurance policy he'd taken out in my name, without my knowledge, was just the start. There was a new bank account in a state I'd never even been to. He was selling off investments, reassigning ownership, transferring property. Not just planning to leave, but planning to leave me with nothing. I started retracing his steps, and the picture became clearer. 6 months earlier, he'd convinced me to sign a stack of tax papers I never read. I trusted him. Why wouldn't I? He was my husband. He said he'd taken a financial planning course, said we needed to consolidate our accounts and protect our assets. He made it sound like a favor. Now I saw it for what it was, a calculated move. One step at a time, he was cutting me out of my own life. The betrayal ran deeper than money. It was methodical, heartless. cruel. And Amanda, my sister, my blood, had been in on it. They thought I was too exhausted, too trusting, too buried in daily survival to notice. And they were almost right. For years, I ignored red flags, brushed off Eric's coldness, excused Amanda's manipulation, laughed when friends said I was too generous, too accommodating. I believed if I just loved hard enough, worked hard enough, gave enough, they'd never turn on me. Instead, they sharpened their knives while I set the table. Amanda and Eric. God, just thinking their names together made me sick. I imagined the conversations they must have had behind my back, the jokes, the contempt, the planning. They weren't just dismantling my marriage. They were erasing my existence. But I wasn't a fool anymore. I quietly started checking our joint accounts. He'd drained almost everything. Credit cards maxed out, loans I didn't recognize. The house, our house, had been refinanced without my consent. My name had been removed. I'd never felt more disposable. Everything I had worked for, every choice I made in the last 15 years, had been for them. Every decision, every sacrifice. I skipped promotions to be more present at home, took care of Eric's aging parents, let Amanda move in after her second divorce. I said yes to everything, never once asked for recognition, just a little respect, a little loyalty. Instead, I got betrayal. What stung the most wasn't just the financial sabotage. It was the complete disregard for my worth, like I was just a placeholder, a resource, something to use up and discard. I couldn't eat. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that folder, that smug signature in Amanda's handwriting, her helping him plot behind my back, probably sipping wine and giggling about how easy it would be. And the kids, they didn't know. Not yet. They still thought Dad was working out of town. I watched them laugh and do their homework, oblivious. And it broke me. Because no matter how deep the betrayal went, I still wanted to shield them. I still didn't want to be the reason their world fell apart. But that didn't mean I was going to let him win. Eric thought he could erase me from my own life. Amanda thought I'd crumble and disappear. They thought I'd be too broken to fight back. They underestimated me. They were about to learn that the woman who gave up everything had nothing left to lose. At first, I thought the worst part of the betrayal was emotional. The lies, the backstabbing, the cruelty. But that was just the tip of the iceberg. This wasn't just a broken heart. This was a systematic takedown of my entire life. And it was working. I started getting calls from creditors, bills I didn't recognize, a notice about the mortgage being behind. My credit score, once pristine, had dropped nearly 200 points in a matter of weeks. I hadn't even known he'd taken out loans in both our names. Now they were chasing me for money he'd already rerouted to his new accounts. I couldn't afford to fix my car. Groceries were suddenly a calculated decision. I was staring down the very real possibility of losing the house, the kids' college savings, and the tiny bit of security I had left. This man wasn't just walking away. He was trying to financially bury me. And Amanda, oh, she wasn't done either. She had inserted herself like a parasite into every crevice of my life. Friends started pulling away. I'd find out weeks later that Amanda had told them I was unstable, that Eric had no choice but to leave. She was spreading rumors about me while playing the concerned sister in public. That was the moment I realized. They weren't just trying to take what was mine. They were trying to replace me. Amanda had started coming around the kids more, uninvited, picking them up from school, telling them, "Your mom's just a little overwhelmed, sweetie. She needs rest." She was positioning herself as the savior, and Eric, he wasn't stopping her. They were priming everyone, my children, my community, even my own reputation, for a version of the story where I was the problem. That's when the panic turned into something else. Resolve, because it wasn't just about me anymore. It was about my children's future, about my name, my dignity, my reality. I looked around my house, the home I had cleaned, maintained, paid for, and realized how close I was to losing it all. I had sacrificed my career to stay local, raise the kids, keep the family together. Every decision I made had been for them. And now I was the one being painted as disposable. It mattered because I had given my entire adult life to these people. And they didn't hesitate to gut me the moment it became convenient. It mattered because women like me are told to be selfless, nurturing, forgiving, to keep the peace. We're told family is everything, that anger is ugly, that revenge is unbecoming. But what about justice? What about accountability? No more pretending, no more minimizing. No more second chances for people who built an entire operation behind my back just to destroy me. Eric had stolen my financial future. Amanda had tried to steal my role as a mother. And now, they were coming for the last piece of me, my credibility, my truth. This wasn't just a personal betrayal anymore. It was a calculated erasure. And I knew if I didn't act fast, if I didn't do something, they'd win. They'd frame the story. They'd spin the narrative. And I'd be left scraping, together the broken pieces of a life they destroyed with a smile. I had to protect my kids, my home, my future. I had to stand up. Not just for me, but for every woman who's ever been treated like a placeholder in her own life. This was bigger than heartbreak. This was war. And I wasn't going to let them write the ending. The day I decided to fight back, I woke up before sunrise. The house was silent. I sat at the kitchen table, the same table where I first found the folder, and opened my laptop. No more tears. No more what-ifs. It was time for strategy. I started with what I knew. Eric had forged my signature on multiple documents. That alone could get him in serious legal trouble, if I could prove it. So I went through every drawer, every file cabinet, every random box of important papers we'd stashed over the years. I compared old signatures, collected copies of every document I'd actually signed. Anything with a date, a notary stamp, a witness. Next, I printed out copies of the forged documents from the folder. I organized everything into a side-by-side, visual comparison. The forgeries were close, but not close enough. I was meticulous. I highlighted discrepancies, circled inconsistencies in the pen pressure, the slant of the letters, even the spacing. Then I backed it all up, scanned every file, emailed it to myself, and saved it to a cloud drive under a fake name. That was just the start. I contacted a friend, Melissa, who used to work in a family law office. She wasn't a lawyer, but she knew enough to point me in the right direction. Through her, I found a legal aid group that specialized in helping women dealing with financial abuse and marital fraud. They took one look at the forged documents and said, "You have a case." And not just a civil one. What Eric did, altering financial documents, forging signatures, and transferring assets without consent, could carry criminal charges. But I knew better than to confront him directly. Not yet. Not without all my ducks in a row. Next, I dug into the money trail. Eric had been smart. He used multiple accounts in different banks, some in his name only, others in shell accounts tied to his small business. But what he didn't count on was me knowing how to follow patterns. He always used the same passwords, and his business emails? He never bothered logging out on the home desktop. I accessed everything. His account transfers, emails with his shady accountant, even conversations with Amanda about how to slowly make her disappear without a messy divorce. That one made me stop and stare. Her was me. Not even a name, just an obstacle. I screenshot everything, printed, cataloged, time-stamped. I even screen recorded myself navigating the emails, showing the URLs and timestamps in real time. I was going to make sure nothing could be dismissed as fabricated or taken out of context. Then I looked into Amanda. Turns out she had a few skeletons of her own. One late-night rabbit hole led me to public court records, old charges, a sealed DUI, a custody battle that didn't end well, and one particularly interesting report, a restraining order filed by her ex-husband, citing emotional manipulation and child endangerment. I didn't need to use that, but it was leverage, She had painted herself as the golden sister, the loving aunt. But her halo had some serious rust. The final piece of the plan? The confrontation. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to beg. That's what they expected. That's what people like them count on, emotional chaos they can flip and weaponize. No, I was going to be calm, prepared. I'd deliver the truth like a surgeon with a scalpel, precise, clean, undeniable. But I wouldn't do it alone. I scheduled a meeting with my legal aid rep and a financial advisor. I laid everything out and asked them to be present when I confronted Eric, not just as support, but as witnesses. If he tried to gaslight me, deny it, twist it, there'd be no room for it. As for Amanda, her day was coming too. She thought she could slide into my life unnoticed. But she was about to find out that I wasn't as easy to erase as she thought. The plan was in motion. I had the evidence. I had the allies. I had the truth. And now? Now it was time to make them answer for every single lie. I didn't wait long to set the wheels in motion. The first step was securing my own finances, what little was left of them. I went to the bank and opened new accounts under my name only. I froze our joint accounts, flagged potential fraudulent activity, and had a long conversation with the bank's fraud department. Once I mentioned the forged documents and unauthorized refinancing, their tone changed. I wasn't just a panicked wife. I was a potential victim of white-collar crime. They began their internal investigation, and I requested all documentation tied to our loans and account transfers. Paper trails don't lie, and I intended to use every last scrap. Next came the kids. I didn't want to drag them into the ugliness, but I had to protect them. I spoke with a family therapist and crafted a plan to talk to them in a way they could understand. Age-appropriate, but truthful. I told them Dad wasn't just working out of town. He had made some very bad choices, and while that didn't make him a bad dad, it meant things were going to change. They cried. I cried with them. But I kept it together. Because I needed to be there, anchor when the storm hit. Then came the confrontation. Eric came back into town on a Thursday, unannounced, thinking he'd catch me off guard. Instead, he walked into a sit-down I had scheduled at a neutral location, my friend Melissa's office, where my legal aid advisor and the financial consultant were waiting. He was cocky at first, smirking, making jokes like it was some kind of misunderstanding. Then I opened the binder. Documents, emails, screenshots, side-by-side signature comparisons. Bank transfer records. His face changed, the color drained. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I simply said, "You've been caught." When he tried to interrupt, my advisor stepped in, calm, professional. She explained that the evidence showed fraudulent activity, forgery, and intentional financial harm. That legal action was not only possible, it was inevitable if we chose to pursue it. Eric tried to shift blame, said I was overreacting, that he was trying to protect us from taxes, that Amanda was just helping out, that it wasn't what it looked like. Then I played the recording. A voice memo I had found on his phone. A slip-up he'd forgotten to delete. Him and Amanda laughing, talking about clearing the field. Her saying, she'll never see it coming. I looked him in the eye. I saw it. His silence told me everything. After he left, humiliated and angry but powerless, I turned my attention to Amanda. I waited until the weekend. A family barbecue she organized, acting like nothing had happened. Playing the doting aunt. I walked in calmly, holding an envelope. Everyone was there. My parents, cousins, mutual friends. She smiled when she saw me. I handed her the envelope. Inside, printed copies of her court records, the restraining order, the email thread between her and Eric, a photo of them leaving a hotel last month, courtesy of a private investigator Melissa recommended. Her smile vanished. People started asking questions. I didn't say a word. I didn't need to. Her facade cracked right there, in front of everyone. She tried to argue, deflect, paint me as crazy. But the evidence spoke louder, and the people who had started to believe her lies now looked at her like a stranger, In less than 20 minutes, I'd done what she never saw coming, exposed her. In the following days, everything shifted. Eric's lawyer reached out to settle quietly. Too late. I filed official fraud reports. I reported the forged documents to the refinancing agency and the IRS. Investigations were opened. Amanda? She disappeared, moved out of town, couldn't face the fallout. As for me, I wasn't whole yet, but I was standing, stronger. Peace. By peace, I was reclaiming my name, my finances, and my future. And the best part? They thought they were playing chess. But I had flipped the board. The final confrontation wasn't explosive. It didn't need to be. Real justice doesn't always come with slamming doors or screaming matches. It comes in cold, calculated moments of clarity, when the truth finally lands and there's nowhere left to run. The court date arrived 3 months later. Eric tried to delay, tried to change representation, tried every trick in the book to buy himself time. But the paper trail I'd built was airtight. The forged signatures, the financial manipulation, the email correspondence. Every lie he'd told was stacked neatly in exhibits labeled A through Z. He didn't even look at me as we sat in the courtroom. He couldn't. When the judge read the charges, fraud, forgery, financial misconduct, I saw the moment it broke him. Not because of guilt, but because he knew he'd lost control. His power, his ability to gaslight, to rewrite the narrative, was gone. The judge ruled in my favor. The assets he tried to hide were seized and returned. The house? Mine. The joint accounts? Liquidated, with my share protected. He was ordered to pay restitution and legal fees. And most satisfying of all, his fraudulent actions were officially documented in public record. He left the courtroom with his head down, a shell of the smug man who once thought he'd outsmart me. As for Amanda, she didn't even show. The fallout had already reached her. Word spread fast. She was no longer welcome at family events. Friends distanced themselves. Her career took a hit, too. She'd built her image on being trustworthy, competent, family-oriented. Turns out, people don't take kindly to someone who conspires to dismantle their own blood's life. She had tried to become the heroine in a story she helped destroy, but the truth rewrote her role for her. And me? I didn't come out of this unscathed, but I came out stronger. I went back to school. Something flexible at first, just to regain control over my future. I started rebuilding my credit, setting up protections and trusts for my kids. I learned about finance, legal rights, and how to never hand over my power so blindly again. The kids saw it all. Not the ugliest parts, but enough. Enough to know their mother didn't fold. Enough to understand what strength looks like. Not loud and cruel, but steady, relentless, and rooted in truth. One night, a few weeks after the ruling, my daughter crawled into bed beside me and whispered, "I'm proud of you, Mom." I cried, quietly. Not because I was sad, but because I finally felt it too. I had given up everything for my family. Years of dreams deferred, my identity buried under the weight of being a wife, a sister, a mother. I thought that love meant sacrifice, that family meant loyalty, no matter what. But now I understood something deeper. Real love doesn't ask you to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Real family doesn't use your kindness as a weapon. I had been betrayed by the two people I trusted most, but I had faced them, exposed them, and walked away with my head held high. This wasn't just revenge. It was reclamation. Of my voice, my worth, my peace. And now, every time I look in the mirror, I don't see the woman who was discarded. I see the woman who refused to be erased. Let them talk. Let them twist. The truth is out there now, and I don't need to shout to be heard. Justice had its moment. Karma had its day. And me? I have the rest of my life.